Hello everybody, and welcome to Get Good at Songwriting. Today we're going to be looking at a Beatles song called In My Life, and in particular we're going to look at some clever examples of secondary dominance and borrowed chords in the verse and chorus. So let's get right into it. I'll play it to you first and see if you can spot the outside lying chords already. Perhaps it'll be obvious to you immediately what chords are going to draw our attention more than others. Perhaps that is, what chords here are non-diatonic and what chords are diatonic. I believe this is an important first step in understanding how to make your harmony more interesting, is to learn to discern between the expected chords, diatonic chords, the usual suspects, and the more adventurous sounding, more fun, if you will, more interesting, jazzy sounding, however you want to think of it, borrowed chords and secondary dominance. And we'll get to modulations too, but that's a whole different subject, a whole different class of, and then there's symmetry in harmonic composition and all kinds of atonal compositional techniques that we're not getting into. We're talking about borrowed chords and secondary dominance on here. So I'll play it to you first and pay attention to the harmony in the song and try to get some ideas for which chords we might want to be talking about here. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends. My light went out. I still can recall, some are dead and some are living. In my life I've loved them all. Okay, so that's one round of a verse and a chorus of In My Life by the Beatles. Hello, S. Somal Jr. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but welcome to the stream. Welcome likewise to everybody who's watching on YouTube or on Facebook. I can't see those chats here. If any of you feel called, by the way, to book a one-on-one with me, I do online songwriting lessons particularly pertaining to music theory and harmony. If you want to beef up your chords and write some more interesting songs, or you just want to understand music theory or just get better at songwriting, then there are links for that either at my Instagram bio if you're watching on Instagram, or in the description of the stream if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. So, do you have ideas already for what chords we might want to be talking about here? I'm not taking requests today. I'm talking about songwriting. I'm not playing a concert. That's on Saturdays. Tuesdays at this time is songwriting time, is technical theory time and learning time, and Saturdays are our concert, cozy music time. So, the song starts out, the intro is this beautiful riff, this beautiful lick over a 1 and a 5 in A major, which is not particularly interesting harmonically. But do submit requests on Saturday, yeah? You can come back and submit requests then. So, as pretty as this sounds, we're not going to be spending a lot of time here because this is pretty easy to understand. This is just the 1 and the 5 chord of the key. It doesn't always have to be complicated to be beautiful, of course, but I do want to cover the more complicated stuff because it's harder to understand, and I want to help you understand the stuff that's hard to understand. Makes sense? So we're gonna move on. There are places I remember. Now what's going on here? The chords are moving very fast. They're coming at you hot and fast. We got the 1 chord, to the 5 chord, to the 6 minor chord. That's totally diatonic so far. Pieces I remember. And then we get this outlier right here. This one's very interesting. This one is technically, you could see it as a 3rd inversion secondary dominant for the 4 chord in the key. It wants to resolve to the 4 chord, in other words. This is like an A7 with its 7 in the bass, which is very unusual. Another way to think of this is an A major triad with a G in the bass. Yeah? So it's an A chord, except we have the flat 7 in the bass, a G natural. This up here is an A major triad. Down here is a G natural. Or you might want to formulate this as a G Lydian chord. You can think of it like that as well. I, in this context, tend to view it as an A dominant chord just because of where it resolves. A lot of theorists would disagree with me on that because, goodbye, have a great day you too. Because the flat 7 is in the bass. Normally for a dominant 7 chord to function the way a dominant 7 chord is supposed to function, it should have its root in the bass, because what's so satisfying about a 5-7 chord resolving to its relative 1 is partly the fact that the bass moves from the root of the 5 chord to the root of the 1 chord, or in other words, up a perfect 4th or down a major 5th, which is a very satisfying interval to hear in the bass. And that's what makes this cadence so satisfying, which in turn stems from the fact that this is one of the primal intervals from the harmonic sequence, which occurs in nature, and our ears are very attuned to it. So hearing this note, and then this note is very satisfying. It feels very final. It feels very resolved once it lands on the 1 chord. We don't have that bass motion here because we have a different bass note. We don't have a do, 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 do. We have a do, do, which is also quite satisfying, but it's not as strong, not as obvious of a cadence as the 5-1 resolution. Now the interesting thing about this secondary dominant chord here, as I see it and analyze it, you might disagree, is that it doesn't resolve to its target 1 chord, which would be a D major, right? An A7 wants to resolve to a D major, according to the textbooks, anyway. And so if we're going to analyze this as an A7 chord, this A major triad with a G natural in the bass, it should resolve logically. Oh, we're getting some comments about the music theory. The 7th could go to the 3rd of D major into a 1st inversion. Exactly, damn, yes. That's the kind of comment I like. See, that would be excellent voice leading. This is a bit of a detour because it's not what actually happens in the song. But yes, please go and use that in your songwriting, Felipe, because that is a beautiful cadence. Check it out. It's something I believe I've even used in one of my songs. Then you could go to a, and to a, and a, and a. I'm digressing, I'm just making up chords at this point. Yes, exactly. It is beautiful, Felipe. A major triad with its flat 7 in the bass resolving up a 4th, but to a 1st inversion 1 chord. Very nice, play with that. What happens in the song is that we get a deceptive cadence, the way I see it. If we look at this as an A7 chord, we're expecting there to be a D chord after it, a D major or a D minor. But what we do get is a B minor, which is like really one of the quintessential deceptive cadences. Is when a dominant 7 chord resolves up a whole step to a minor 7 chord, as opposed to going to its target 1 chord. And going up a whole step results in landing on the relative minor key chord for the 1 chord that we thought we were going to land on. These chords, in other words, B minor 7, D major, are almost the same chord. Only 1 note separates them in terms of the content of the chords, the triads. I have fun. So we get this cool deceptive cadence. In the context of the song, if we return to the chord progression there, we got this A. So if we look at what the bass is doing, sorry, I should preface it by saying that. Do, do, do. And then it jumps up to a do, do, do. B minor, D minor, A. And this B minor 7 or B minor chord, however you want to play it, with or without the 7, doesn't do much to change the sound or feel of the chord, honestly, in my opinion, is the 2 chord, the naturally occurring diatonic 2 chord of A major. And so, 'tis not very interesting for us to analyze for today's purposes, although it is a very beautiful and nice chord to have. We then get this D minor chord, and I just played it with a 9 on top here. I've never played this voicing before. This one's cool. Woo! And that is a borrowed chord from the parallel A minor scale. Hey Sreya, nice to have you on the stream. VO Nix, thank you for the kind comment. Good job, you say. I just did say hi. Thank you for commenting again. Hope you're enjoying and learning from the stream. The naturally occurring 4 chord, diatonic 4 chord of A major, of course, will be D major, right? But we get a B minor and then we get a D minor. So we get this chromatic movement of an F sharp, which is the 5th of this B minor chord. Hey Holger, welcome to the stream. Reisig, sounds German. Are you German? We get this beautiful chromatic movement from F sharp to the F natural in the D minor chord to the E natural in the A major chord. You could have played this as a D major, going to a D minor, going to an A. It's just a slight reharmonization to get that deceptive cadence again, to go to the B minor. Where you also have this F sharp turning into an F natural, turning to an E. So that's it for the verse. Then we get on to the chorus. And we start on the relative minor, which is a great way to signify that there's something new happening, to start on the 6 minor chord of the key for a new section. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends. I still can recall, some are dead and some are living. I want to point out that the first 2 chords, so these were 2 blocks of 4 chords. The chorus is 2 blocks of 4 chords. And the first and second block both start with an F sharp minor and the same melody, importantly. Do, 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 and do, 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 do. It's just reharmonized. Though I know I'll never lose affection, I know I'll often stop and think about them. Now they could have totally played the same version both times. No, I'll never lose affection. I know I'll often stop and think about them. Or no, I'll never lose affection. I know I'll often stop and think about them. But to keep things harmonically interesting and to maintain and increase to switch things up, which I wholeheartedly recommend you do in your own music as well. Very, very useful. No, I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before. So the interesting chord here is obviously the G chord, the G natural. No, I'll never lose affection. Diatonic, we got the 6 minor, we got the 4 chord, and then we got the flat 7 borrowed chord from A Aeolian. People and things, which lends things a bit of a fresh feel. We haven't heard this chord before. People and things. And then we get, again, the F natural borrowed chord note, so it becomes kind of this G7 chord almost. People and things that went. Again, this F natural, like in the D minor chord, resolving to an E natural in the A major chord, just like we had before. Make sense? Hola, Beatriz. Bom te ver. People and things that went before. So, interestingly, they don't play the 7, the dominant 7, this F natural, in the harmony on this G chord. It just appears in the melody, and that's an excellent example of how melody can increase the harmonic potency of a song by using notes that don't already occur in the harmonic instruments, in the instruments that are outlining the harmony of the song. You can keep things very interesting that way. And you can add a lot of tension to your melody by adding those notes to your melody. I'm going to sing it with an F sharp instead now and see how that sounds different. With people and things that went. People and things, things that went, things that went. Or G. People and things that went before. That would have been an option too. People and things that. People and. It's hard to change. People and things that went. Things that went. Things that went. Things that went. Versus things that went. 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 Thank you for stopping, Felipe. Thanks for being here. So does that make sense? Anywho, let's move on. Second half of the chorus is No, I'll often stop and think about them. Now, this is a borrowed chord from the parallel A Lydian, or if you're thinking of this as being an F sharp minor now, the relative minor of A major, then you can think of this as the Dorian borrowed chord for F sharp minor. No, I'll often stop and think about them. And then we get the 4 and the 4 minor. My life, I've loved them all. And that's all the cool borrowed chords of In My Life by the Beatles. I hope you enjoyed today's and secondary dominance. I hope you enjoyed today's installment of Get Good at Songwriting, and you can watch the replay. It'll be up on my YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Instagram page. And if you want to dive deeper with me into songwriting and music theory, then you can do so by visiting the link in my bio if you're on Instagram, and booking a trial lesson with me, for example, or a one-on-one, or just reaching out and chatting and seeing what the options are. Always available for a talk in the DMs or the comments. Hey Misty, thanks for joining the stream. And if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, then you can find all the relevant links, both to check out my music and to work with me on your songwriting. Not my songwriting, on your songwriting in the description of this live stream. Thank you so much for joining today, guys, and I'll see you same time next week for another deep dive into some delicious chords.